Hello and welcome to the Superwomen Wellness Connection channel. This is our first episode for 2021, and I am so excited to be having everyone back here this year. You guys are going to be so excited, and I'm starting off with such an incredible guest today. For those of you who are just tuning in for the first time, my name is Kim Goltom, and I'm a certified master wellness coach, as well as the founder of the Empowered Living for Superwomen program. And I have a superwoman who is going to be sharing with you tidbits about her journey and some wellness tips for you. And so I welcome Jane Dyer, Vocational Rehab Coach, as well as business advisor, to our first episode. Thank you. Welcome.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. It's nice to be here and to share my story with you and some hints and tips from my business and my coaching.
Thank you. So I'd love to just dive right in, and I'd love to learn a little bit more and have our audience learn a little bit more about how you became a vocational rehab coach.
Oh, how did I become a vocational rehab coach? Well, 3 years ago, I started my business, Tudor Rose Workplace Wellbeing Consultancy, and that was after a 20-year civil service career in the UK.
Nice.
I have a disability myself, and when I left my civil service career, I thought, what do I do now? So, and it seemed to have come to it by accident, really, because my background seemed to be in supporting other people. When I left school, I did voluntary work supporting young people with learning difficulties, and I've supported adults with basic education with learning difficulties, and I've adopted 2 children, so they had early years difficulties, so we supported them. And then myself, I've got a physical disability. I have Spina Bifida, but that's never really consciously caused me any difficulties.
Nice.
But that's more to do with how I was brought up rather than that there aren't any difficulties faced.
Yeah.
So I was brought up by a strong mother who taught me to just get out there and find my way to do anything I wanted to do. So that made me very independent, and that upbringing was something I passed on to all the people I've worked with in my voluntary career before I started work as an adult. And then when I started my civil service career, I was working with policies to help the unemployed and the lower achiever learners in education. But like everyone else, you're in your 9-to-5 corporate job, and you have your mortgage and you have your family to bring up. So that's where you stay, although you may want to be doing something else.
Right.
So when I left my 9-to-5 career, I thought, well, what now? And it gave me the opportunity to work as a practitioner more than a policy maker. And still with that idea of making a difference for the people and empowering other people, that's how Tudor Rose came about. That I decided I wanted to empower business owners initially with health issues, not just disabilities, any health issues, where the health issue is causing them a difficulty with their work. For example, people who have acquired an illness or a disability. Rightly so, they may be consumed with that and thinking, oh, I can't do anything else, I've got to cope with this, I'll have to lose my job, or I've got to lose my business. And that isn't necessarily the case. As I see it, I can help other people find a different way, their way, to adapt to their new situation and still do their work or their business.
That's fantastic.
That's how I started with my coaching. So empowering other people to reach their goals still, whatever their change in health or disability. Really?
Wow. Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I just want to say, you know, I'm almost at a loss for words because it's like, wow, right? It's like everybody needs to just kind of take a pause, digest everything you've just said. And I love how, you know, your mother has influenced this journey that you've created, and how it's just blossomed, and you know, it's, you know, you've just taken off, and I just love that
I think
so
all
very
of us
much.
as adults, you know, they often say about the mother-daughter relationships, you know, they can be fiery at times, which ours definitely was.
Sure.
But you don't appreciate, I think, until you're an adult, what your
True.
parents do actually give you.
It's very true. That's very true. And so I'd love for you to share, you know, since you've had this journey for the last, you know, 3 years of
3 years,
creating,
yeah.
that's fantastic.
Yeah, well, I started off with my business coaching individual business
Uh-huh.
owners, and then that evolved to helping people, helping employees of businesses.
Uh-huh.
And I found as I was doing it that it isn't really the disability or the illness that is a barrier to people
Definitely.
progressing and reaching their goals. It's the mental health
Mm.
around that and how they cope with their disability.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
that is that part of that for employees is how employers see their disability or health issue.
Yes.
So that's what moved me on to evolving even more recently, to try and work more with employers to shift their view of people with health, employees with health and disability issues.
Yeah.
That they're a big talent base, not to be missed, and they're losing out by not being inclusive.
Correct.
And thinking about their whole well-being policies, which in effect will help those employees, because it will look at their policies around sickness, retention, well-being and accessibility, all sorts of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you think about, because you're looking at so many different layers when you're connecting with employees as well as employers, of course, and then I'm sure individuals outside as well. And, you know, when you're thinking of that audience, what would be some tips that you would want to share with our audience today, you know, just to give them just a little nugget?
Well, the main tips for, well, what I do as a business essentially is help employees have a voice to be able to have the confidence to communicate their needs. Because a lot of my clients have individual health issues, like, for example, migraine.
Sure.
Or a long-term mental health issue that's nothing to do with their work. It could be from childhood. All sorts of manner of things that you and I wouldn't know they had.
Right.
But if they're nervous about expressing their needs and how they can be accommodated, then they're putting themselves at a disadvantage.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's essentially what my coaching helps individuals to do, have the confidence and the voice to express their needs.
Nice.
And on the flip side, I try and help employers think about raising their awareness of health and disability issues to make them less nervous, because I don't think people's needs are not met out of, you know, any malice. I think
Correct.
it's because employers just are not aware if you haven't spoken up, and they don't know what to do.
Sure.
And if they need to make any adjustments or accommodations, I prefer to call them now, then they think it's going to cost them more money, and that isn't necessarily the case because there's funding options around to help them.
Yeah.
So I try and educate employers to what's available, and to just, for both parties, it's to communicate more with each other and be open, and not, and for the employers not to lose their talent, and for employees not to lose their opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And and tips that I give employees are around managing, having time to having a plan in the day, like we have business plans. I have a daily plans of managing children, family, work, health, all of it, because as well as having a family and a home and a work, if you've got health issues, you might have lots of medical things to think about as well. And sometimes that will be overwhelming.
Definitely.
That's just a simple tool that I give to some people. And instead of it being a whole page full of scribbles, you know, like we have on our fridge, and then it's just too much, just compartmentalizing them into different areas. You know, 3 things about work that need to be done, 3 things about my health and my well-being, 3 things about my kids, you know, and family.
Definitely.
So that really helps, because then you're less overwhelmed and you're more able to cope. So that's just one simple tip.
Sure, absolutely. No, I think that's fantastic. And I would imagine, you know, with, you know, all of the different variations of what we've been experiencing globally over the last 9 months, that this is actually becoming more top of mind for employers. Because now for those employees who are working remotely, it's trying to figure out, again, you know, those different needs that they may already have, you know, certain pieces in place at home, but some, you know, some employees don't, some individuals don't, and so it's, you know, trying to you know, it's like, okay, what do I need?
I mean, it's interesting, the environment we're living in now. I've been asking employers, or I've been asking my employees to ask their employers to let them work from home before this happened, and employers were saying, no, we can't do that, you know, because someone with a health issue, they might work well in the middle of the night.
Oh, good point.
And not in between 9 and 5. For one of my clients, that was the case, and there was no reason why physically she couldn't work from home. It was just a cultural thing of the organisation. Wouldn't let her, because we haven't done that, and we can't let you, and if we let you, we'll have to let everybody else, and we don't do that. So I think the environment we're living in now has really opened the door for a lot of my clients to continue doing what they were doing, or to do what they need to be doing, because everybody else has got to do that. You know, working mums have got to do it.
Yeah.
Everybody's working from home now, from the kitchen table or whatever, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's interesting. Employers have been forced into a situation where they've had to do it. So they've had to manage it, so it can be done, which people with health issues have always known that it can be done. They've just faced this barrier.
True.
So it's a good opportunity for us to bring everybody into a better, improved well-being environment, and more flexibility for remote working, as you say.
Absolutely. And I love how the first thing you had mentioned was, you know, helping to bring employees who are needing additional, whether it's technology or equipment, whatever the case is, but, you know, helping to provide those employees with a stronger voice, but then also the confidence, right? And they're really, you know, tied together. And especially these days, yeah, that's just even more important.
In lots of ways, I'm quite confident, you know, I'll come on and do things like this. But in other ways, I think partly because of the way I was brought up. I was brought up to get on with it and live with, and find a way to get on in the environment we're in.
Yeah.
Rather than asking for the environment to meet my needs.
Mm-hmm.
So I would always just do things when, even for me, some things might have been easier if they'd been accommodated in a different way, but I never
Sure.
asked for that.
Sure.
But thankfully, in a changing world, you know, the world should be more accessible for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know, whatever needs they have got. So.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. So I want to thank you so much for sharing, your journey with us and how your business came to fruition. And it sounds like you're doing some incredible work over there across the pond.
I'm happy to have clients from anywhere, because the same messages are there.
True.
Whatever is happening in your particular country about how you get funding to accommodate your needs, they're the only differences, really.
That's true. That's a great point. Yeah, with everything being so virtual these days, it really does make things more seamless, especially across borders too, which is nice.
Smaller world in lots of ways.
Yes.
And we all have the same needs, really.
Yeah, no, I agree. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so if somebody wanted to connect with you, what is the best way for them to either follow you on social media or connect with you directly?
Well, my website is www.tudorroseservices.co.uk, and I can be followed on LinkedIn and on Facebook. And LinkedIn is Jane Dyer Tudor Rose Services, and Facebook is Tudor Rose Business Services. And my UK telephone number, and I can't remember the international code, is 07969 757 041.
Excellent. And if anybody is calling from the US to the UK, you'll want to dial 01144 as your preface. So that was easy.
Yeah, and as I say, all the issues that I deal with all my clients, employers or employees, are all, common across the world, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that. So is there anything that you would like to share with the audience before I let you get back to doing all the amazing things you do?
I'd just like to share that, just to think of everyone in an inclusive way, treat everyone the same and give everybody the opportunities in employment. That's the big thing, really. And just to meet everyone, employers don't think of somebody in a wheelchair different to a dad with his family.
Yeah.
They both have different needs.
It's true.
And just think of the talent that you're recruiting rather than obstacles that you see in front of you. They can be overcome.
Definitely.
And employees, speak up for what accommodations you need. When you're at interview, even at that stage,
yeah,
just say things to them like, to accommodate, to allow me to work at my best, I would need you to accommodate X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
If that just means that you're a person that's neurodiverse and wants a desk in a quiet corner instead of the busiest part of the office. Simple things.
Yeah. Can make a huge impact and a difference. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing.
It's been lovely speaking to you, Kim.
Likewise. Well, thank you so much. And I will be putting all of Jane's information in the description below. So don't worry if you missed any of it. It will be in the description below. Well, thank you so much again, Jane. I really appreciate your time and all the amazing work you're doing.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.